Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we are going to be learning how to make this beautiful dress. So if this looks like what you are interested in, continue watching, and then don't forget that the best way you can actually support a creator is by liking and then commenting on their videos. So this way we can actually get to a higher audience. So thank you so much for all your support. If you are new here, my name is Lillian. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please click the subscribe button, also turn on the notification bell. Let's get into it. So for this tutorial you'll be needing about 3 yards of doll face. So this is actually doll face, not the shining face, the normal doll face, and then about 2 yards of crepe. So this crepe is actually not stretchy. It's a little bit stretchy but not too stretchy, okay, and it's a bit thick. So let's dive right into the pattern drafting. So as usual, I'm going to mark my starting point. Okay, this is actually 2 inches. So this is my starting line, and then at the starting line is my shoulder line. So from that point I'm just going to come down by 8 inches, which is my chest line. So like I said before, in case you are joining us for the first time, I work with 8 inches because I use 1.5 as my shoulder slant. On the norm, my shoulder line, my chest line is actually 7.5 inches. So I add extra 0.5 inches because I use 1.5 inches as my shoulder slant. So this is actually not to shorten my armhole by 0.5 inch. That is why I mark 8 inches instead of 7.5 inch. So hope that is clear. So at the center back, I'm going to just mark out about 1.5 inches. So this will serve as my zipper allowance. So after that, I'm going to come over to the front. From my shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 10 inches, which is my shoulder to my bust point. So my shoulder to bust point line is 10 inches. So I'm going to mark that and then label it out. So the next step is to mark my front shoulder to waistline. So my front shoulder to waistline is 16 inches. So I'm going to come down by 16 inches and then mark. So remember, your front shoulder to waistline is actually different from your back shoulder to waistline. So the front is usually longer. Just take your tape over to your shoulder and then measure to your waistline at the front. So mine is 16. So the next step, from my front waistline, I'm going to come down by 9 inches. So this is going to be my hip line. So I'll go ahead and create my hip line. So for my knee length, I'm going to be working with 24 inches. So from my waistline, I'm going to come down by 24 inches. So just as you can see me do now, from my waistline, I'm coming down by 24 inches because that is my waist to knee length. So I'm going to go ahead and then create my knee line. So for my full length, I'm going to be adding 6 inches from my knee line, okay? So you can see from my knee line, I'm coming down by 6 inches. But the style inspiration we are working with is actually longer than this. So if you want to have exactly what is in the picture, go ahead and add extra 10 inches, 10 to 11 inches. So when you're done, come over to the back. From your back shoulder line, you are going to come down by your back shoulder to your waistline. Remember, like I said, our front shoulder to waistline is different from our back shoulder to waistline. So my front shoulder to waistline is 16, while my back shoulder to waistline is 14.5 inches. So from my back waistline, I'm also going to come down by 9 inches, which is my waist to my hip line, okay? So as you can see, I'm marking 9 inches as my waist to hip line. I'm going to label this out, and then another thing I'm going to do is to come down by 24 inches as my waist to my knee length. So for the full length, I'll also go ahead from my knee length. I'm going to come down by 6 inches. Remember, that was what we marked at the front, so repeat the same thing at the back. So the next step is to impute our neckline. From your shoulder line, come down by 3 inches, and then the neck width, make it 3 inches. Then take your curve ruler and then create your neckline. So the next step is to go in by your shoulder measurement, divide by 2. So mine is 14, divide by 2 is 7. I already mark it on my shoulder line and then on my chest line. So I'm going to go ahead and create my shoulder line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to come down by 1.5 inch as my shoulder slant. So I already told us the reason I usually use 1.5 inch. So I'm going to fold my tape into 2 like so to get the midpoint, and then I'm going to go in by 0.5 inches. So from that point I will connect to my shoulder slant, and then I'm going to go in by my round bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9, because I'm working with 36, and then I'll create my armhole like so. So I will do the same thing to my waistline, my waist circumference divided by 4. I mark 7 because I'm working with 28 inches, and then on my hip line I'm going to be marking 10 inches because I'm working with 40 inches, and 40 divided by 4 is 10. So I'll use my curve ruler at this point to connect like so. On your knee line, mark your round hip circumference minus 2. So I'm going to mark 8 inches because my round hip is 10 inches, minus 2 is 8. And then I'm just going to slant it down to my full length. You don't need to take it straight, just slant it. Remember, your knee is wider than the rest parts of the downside, so I have difference of 1 inch. So let's say my full length I mark 7 inches. So hope that is clear. So just take off 1 inch from what you marked on your knee line. So this is what we'll be having. I'm going to go in on my waistline by my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, come down by 5 inch, align it also by 4 inch, and then do the same thing on my chest line. And then now I'm going to create my dart leg. So for my dart intake, I'll be working with 1 inch. So if you're new here, this is what I usually do. Remember, like I always say, that this is not a must. So I like working with 1 inch because I always like to cinch the waist of my dress. So you can use 0.5 inches, you can use 0.6 or 0.7 depending on what you want. So I'm going to replace just one leg of my dart intake by going out by 1 inch, and then on my chest line I'm going to add 0.3 inches, and then on my hip line I'm going to also add 0.3 inches. So if you don't know what 0.3 inches, watch the screen. So just as you can see, I'm going to use my broken line to connect. So whatever you use as your dart intake, extend it on your waistline and then connect. So if it is 0.5 inch, extend it by 0.5 inch. If it's 0.6, extend it by 0.6. So I'm going to go ahead now and then connect this into the down parts of my pattern from the hip line. So hope this makes sense. So the other, we only replace one of the dark legs because we are cinching our waist. So if you don't want to replace your complete that intake, if you don't want to cinch your waistline. So from my bust point, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch because this is different between my front shoulder to waistline and my back shoulder to waistline. Remember, at the front I mark 16 inches, and then at the back I mark 14.5 inches. So 16 inches minus 14.5, you'll be left with 1.5 inch. So that is what I used as my side dart. So I'm going to slit my pattern open and then close off my side dart so that I can actually connect in case there's any difference around there. So I'm just going to use my ruler, my straight ruler, to blend it in together, just as you can see now. So this is what we are going to be having. I'm just going to connect it like so. So after doing that, this is it for the front, and then we are going to head over to the back. So the back depth, I'm going to make it 2 inches, and then the width I'm still going to maintain 3 inches as the front. Remember, the front and the back width should always be the same. So the depth can actually vary, but the width should always be the same so that it will align. So my shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 7, just like we did at the front. I'm going to repeat it on my chest line, and then also go ahead to create my shoulder line, and then come down by 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to also connect it back to my neckline like so. And then I'm going to find the midpoint as usual by folding my tape into two. I'm going to go ahead and then mark my midpoint and then go in by 1/2 inch, connect from that point also to my shoulder slant like so. So the next thing I'm going to do is to divide. I'm going to extend this line and then divide my round bust circumference also by 4. I'm going to be marking 9 inches because I'm working with 36. So I'm going to mark it and then create my armhole like so by connecting from that point to the 1/2 inch we came out with. So on my waistline, I'm going to mark 7 inches because my waist circumference is 28 divided by 4 is 7. And then on my hip line, I'm also going to mark 10 inches just like I did at the front because I'm working with a hip of 40 inches. Then I'm going to connect also with a curve ruler like so. So after doing that, we are going to go in on our waistline by our nipple to nipple point divided by 2. So mine is 8 divided by 2 is 4. You can see I already mark it on my chest line, my waistline, and then I came down by 6 inches and then also align it by 4 inches. So the length of the back dart leg is 6 inches. So for my dart intake, whatever I did at the front, I'll repeat it at the back by going out by 1 inch on both sides. Remember, if it is 1/2 inch you're working with, maintain the 1/2 inch. If it is 0.6, maintain the 0.6. If it is 0.7, maintain the 0.7, depending on what you want. So I'm going to also extend 1 inches of my dart leg to this side. Remember, and then this point 0.3, and then the hip part 0.3. So I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler to create a broken line. Remember, like I said, you can always use 1/2 inch, you can use 1 inch depending on what you are used to or how comfortable you are in cinch dress. So on my waistline, I'm going to go in by 1/2 inch, and then from that point I will take it back to my chest line and then also bring it down with a curve ruler to my hip line. So as usual, my knee line, I'm going to mark 8 inches because 10 minus 2 is 8. So I minus 2 inches from what I marked on my hip line. So this is it. And then on my full length, I'm going to be marking 7 inches, okay? So your knee line and your full length should not be the same thing since it's going to be a pencil gown. So this is it. I marked 7 inches. So it's a difference of 1 inch between my knee line and my full length. So I'm going to be adding my allowance. So to the neckline, I'm going to add 1/2 inches, shoulder line 1/2 inches, and then armhole 1/2 inches. And then for my side allowance, I'm going to be adding 1 inch. Remember, at this point is your choice. You can add more than 1 inch as your side allowance, so that is actually your choice. And then to my center back, I'm also going to go ahead and then add my zipper allowance. So after adding your allowance, go ahead and then cut out. When you're done, on one side of the dart, go ahead and slit it open, just as you can see me do, and then close it off. Remember, you are doing this on the down piece. just as you can see. Use your tape to seal it up, just as you can see me do. So this is it for this, and then the next thing we are going to do is to set it aside for now, and then bring in the back piece. So also go ahead and then cut out. So go ahead, repeat the same thing we did at the front. Slit one side of the dart and then close it up. So this is it for the back pattern, and then this is it for the whole pattern. So go ahead and cut this out on your fabric. So this is it. I already cut out on my fabric, and then as you can see, your dart still close. Add ½ inch to the waistline, and then I added 1 inch for my hemming at the down. And then this is it for the center front also. I added ½ inch to the waistline, okay, just as you can see. So I already also marked out my dart. I actually transferred my dart to the fabric. You can see both side dart and the waist dart. So I already transferred it to the fabric, and then this is it for the back piece also. My dart is already on it, and then we have our center front. I added the same ½ inch to the waistline, and then the hemline 1 inch. So I'm going to set this piece aside. So we are going to work on the center front piece. So on the center front, at your bust point, you are going to come down by 1 inch, and then on the side that also go out by 1 inch. Do the same thing to this side, come down by 1 inch, and then go to the other side by 1 inch. So in our next video, we are going to join this whole piece together. The video is already too long. Let's finish up in our next video. So if you find this video interesting, or if you learned anything from this video, please do where to comment and like. Thank you so much. I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.